What's happening, budget builders, and welcome back to the channel.
How's it going? I'm Michael and this is Budget Builds. My dad and I bring rusty, crusty old cars back to life.
You'll notice we're missing something in this little truck, and that is that 1.5 naturally aspirated diesel that we had in here. Now, although I do love the little naturally aspirated motors that are in these trucks, I have had 3 of these. They've all been naturally aspirated diesels, and it was time for something else. They're great little motors. They get killer fuel economy, but in today's age, especially locally with the traffic that goes on and everything, you will absolutely get run over. And so I've always wanted to do this swap. I've been kind of saving parts, getting stuff together so we can make this happen, have a couple companies that are working with us, and something really cool's coming. Yep, we got a TDI swap for this thing. Now this is a 2001 Volkswagen Beetle ALH 5-speed TDI. This is like realistically the perfect swap, I feel like, for this truck. It's going to give us great power gains. We're going to make killer torque and 5-speed manual, air conditioning. This thing's about to be set up. Now it took a little while to piece all this together. If you guys remember that little Jetta that we had, that was a package deal, kind of, I guess you could say, between the two cars. We paid $1,500 for both of those vehicles. Adding gas for our trip out there was about $50, $60 for the battery. I just bought a El Cheapo from Walmart just to get us by. And so that put us, however much that is, $1,610 into the two. And then after getting that car cleaned up, we were able to sell it for $1,000. And so we had just over $600 in this little car. Now, to be honest, we bought this thing and actually drove it over 100 miles home. It did great, cruise control, AC, going down the interstate. And we did sell the 1.5 and transmission off of this for 200 bucks. That's pretty reasonable for that. It did need an injection pump rebuild because it was run on gas. But overall, the motor ran good. It just needed it needed a good bit of love before it could be ready to run every day. And instead, we opted for this. And all said and done, we sold the spare tire out of this. We have $150 in this setup. Now, Eurowise out of Charlotte, probably one of the best companies as far as Volkswagen and Porsche performance parts go. Hooked us up with a swap kit for this thing. It's all our brackets and everything to mount that thing straight in here. Now, what we need to go ahead and do, this thing's nasty. Let's go ahead and blast this thing off. Clean it up really good. I do want to clean this engine bay. I really want to leave the look of this engine bay like it is. It's fairly clean. It has a few little surface rust spots and everything. So we need to clean this up, clean that up, and then I think we're going to go ahead and drop the entire K-member out of the Beetle so we can get the motor all set up and ready to drop in here. All right, with everything cleaned up, it's time to get this engine and transmission dropped out of here. Now, all you have to do with these, after you have the front end off, it's fairly simple. We have to get all of our ducting off and everything, our heater core hoses, our air conditioning hoses. We need to pull our power steering stuff, and then obviously our wiring and everything. But at that point, and your exhaust. But then at that point, you just need to take your CV axles off, your rear wishbone, your motor mounts, and this motor just comes right on out of here. What an impact score, full send. We got new motor mount anyway. out.
Got it. It's trying to tip forward.
Haha! That was like literally an hour. This is the first Mark IV motor we've ever pulled. Those are stinking easy. I mean, I guess. Seem pretty easy. That's an engine and transmission just dropped.
Alright. We can drop it.
Look at that. Shoot, yeah, man. So if y'all have worked on diesels, you know how this crap works. But of course, we got our Jawbo wipes from Crest. This stuff's I can't say the word. This stuff's crap, man. Isn't that awesome? All right, with her all cleaned up, it is time to prep this engine for reinstallation in that truck. Now what I want to go ahead and do, let's get this downpipe pulled off. I want to get our ductwork pulled off here. I'll go ahead and tape the turbo up and everything so we don't have any issues with anything getting in there. We are going to do an EGR delete on this motor, including the full cooler and everything. So all of that needs to go ahead and come off. I am going to pull that intake because if you've been around these TDIs, you know how nasty those things get. And there's no point in running this motor without cleaning that intake, especially when we have nice access to this, and it'll make it easier to put it back in that. We need to pull our motor mounts. I'm going to pull our serpentine belt off and everything. Now with this one, I thought it'd be really fun in that truck to keep the air conditioning. It's a factory AC truck. We might as well have it, especially with this newer R134 system. It's going to be much better in that truck once we update everything and get it going. But we are going to delete the power steering, obviously, because that truck does not have it, and there's no point in putting it in there. So we will have to pull this off, remove some of these tensioners, and size up a belt here shortly. But let's go ahead and get that pulled off as well as this motor mount and that timing cover, because we do need to pull that timing belt. This motor does have to go from the self-tension tensioner on the timing belt to a adjustable one that we're going to put on there like the older style diesel engines. And then obviously on the other side, on the transmission side, we need to replace a mount there. In the rear, you don't have a mount on these engines, but on the, you'll see with our kit, on those trucks, they do mount in the rear. We're going to put a mount in the rear there. So let's go ahead, pull our impact back out, go ahead and buzz everything off here.
Kitty litter from PetSmart. I have
I've done a bunch of these, and my goodness, this is so much easier not on the car.
I'm gonna go do it.
This one's actually been cleaned at one point in time. I could kind of tell just from how clean your diverter was here, or whatever you could, this is your anti-shutter, whatever valve. This thing was, normally you can look, sometimes if they haven't been cleaned, you can barely see through them. And these are almost completely clogged off. This one's obviously been cleaned at some point in time, although it's still pretty nasty. Now we do need to pull our valve cover. All right, so we are going to go ahead and pull our vacuum pump off the side and the valve cover here. Now you've got 3 bolts here, here, and under there. Come out far enough to come past with no issues. All right, now we've got our timing set. You do roll your number 1 cylinder up on top dead center, which is when both of your valves are up on the top dead center on the compression stroke, when both of your valves are all the way up. And this needs to be nice and flat in line. Now, I do have a special tool that goes here. I can't find it. You can pretty much eyeball this thing. Basically, it's just to keep it from moving, but as long as you, I mean, it basically goes back where it goes. So not a huge deal there. It just makes it a little easier. And then as far as down here goes, I've seen special tools for this. I've never had one. I've always done these just like this. There's a little dot right here, and I marked it, and then it lines up with this little indentation, and I went ahead and put a dot there, and you know, that's in line. And then here I've also got a special tool, a little dowel that goes in there. Can't find it. This little torque screwdriver works fine, and this just holds your timing gear there. Obviously, once it's done, you can adjust your timing on your pump a few degrees either way via these slotted bolts here. But this will get us in the ballpark, and we can go ahead and pull our tensioner off to get that belt pulled. Easy peasy. Now, I was tempted to go ahead and do all the rollers and everything on this, but it had a complete timing belt and water pump not too long ago. The only reason I am changing the belt is I'm here, and that's a rubber part. You might as well just replace it. Cheap enough, 36 bucks I think it was, so no point in not doing that at this point. Roll belt out of there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and lay this here so we can get it marked out. It looks like we need to cut down right there and right there. First thing I want to do is go and get this lip cut off so we can get better access down in there. Probably don't want to press on this, so let me move it. Here in the next little bit, it'll be back in that car over there. All right, so I did go ahead and clean up the edges just for the heck of it and got some of that paint out of there and greased a little bit, so hopefully it'll slide in here nicely. It's whatever way it's gonna be. All right, with our bushing installed, it is time to get it back on the motor. I'm gonna go ahead and throw some Loctite. Think about throwing some Loctite. Okay, you need to be careful on that wall. With our new stud on, we can go ahead and put our spacer in. Basically kicks this out to where you need it. Alright, now we can go ahead and throw our timing belt on.
Make it flip off. I thought you had a plate to hold it on flat.
I do.
Just don't move it.
I just don't. Alright, so what I'm doing here is we're going to go ahead and roll this thing over a good revolution and verify It all looks good. He's doing a little massaging with that. Obviously, we'll have to get it bolted in the truck before we can get it completely done, and then we can get our cover and everything back on. But got our dampener and everything back on there. We can go ahead and get our transmission mount on, and we can get this thing stuck up in that truck. All right. Now we can go ahead and get our trans mount pulled. Alrighty. Alright, did go ahead for the time being and shave this outer cover off where I can attach something to that reverse light switch in the near future, but we can go ahead now and get our mount bolted on. Alright, so for some reason these bolts have a shank on them, and so because this one is all thread and this one has a good portion of it thread, we are going to have to bore it out a little bit. No, we don't have to go all through. Just go a good portion of it. Oh yeah.
You can walk back a little bit if you want to.
Now it's time to do some moving around. See if we can get this thing under the truck. Alright, so we're about ready to slide the 1.9 in. Obviously we have this truck way up in the air. For safety, we did throw our 6-ton jack stands up under there. So this thing is not going anywhere. You got, what is that? 12 tons, 24,000 pounds worth of jack stands. And there's what, like 1,500 pounds of truck right here. So we should be good to go. What we've done is we've got our plywood out here. We're gonna go ahead and rock the motor around, get it on here, and drag it up under the truck. And then we can let the truck down over top of the motor.
Now you're on it. Oh no. Are we gonna play in that? Alright. Look at that. All right, so we did go ahead and pull our wheels off, and we have spider jacks on either side here, just so we can get this truck absolutely as low as we possibly can, so we barely have to lift that engine up at all. All right, so I did not get directions with this, and the reason you change that tensioner is so you can get rid of this to make room. So we're gonna pull this off really quick. I think we're gonna be okay. I'm gonna get my adjuster on here and take this loose and very carefully get that little gal off of there. All right, with the motor in, you take these 4 bolts loose right here. We bolt our bracket on. Now you can tell this is a very well built bracket. It looks really good in there and it lines up super nicely. And then it comes with a brand new polyurethane bushing that just bolts straight through this original mounting. I did take these loose so we could adjust it around and pull it out where it needs to be. And now we have the motor sitting exactly where it needs to be. I just need to tighten up our 2 motor mount bolts, and she is in place where she needs to go. All right, there she is hanging there. Get that mount in. That one in. It's a little snug. I think it'll be all right. We've got our rear end. Pretty pleased with how it came out. I think this is going to be super stinking fun. And I cannot wait.
Now with that motor in there, we need to start considering things like our wiring, our injection pump, fuel lines and stuff like that. Something else we need to consider is obviously our intercooler piping and radiator, AC condenser, stuff like that. There's a lot that we need to cram in this little engine bay. I had a super nice company reach out to me, wanted to help out with this project, and that's Max Feeding Rods. I think a lot of people have heard about them, and so they sent us out a few items to test out on this truck and kind of check everything out with them. One thing they did send out, you got your little customer service card here, and they sell aftermarket performance connecting rods, billet cranks, turbochargers, air suspension, coilovers, and they do have some nice factory parts that is nice for some of the older stuff that we've been building, like Autolite 1100 carburetors, factory 302 intakes, and stuff like that. They've kind of got a cool variety of products and everything, so be sure to go check out their website. If you guys, I'm going to put a link to their website down below. Go check them out. If you find something that you really like, you guys can use our code budgetbldz. It is spelled a little bit differently. I'll put it down in the bottom there. You can only have 10 characters or whatever, so we had to kind of tighten it down a little bit, and you'll get 8% off on whatever products you guys find. So the first thing that I opted to get to test out on this truck is, let's see, this is a Nissan Patrol intercooler, and honestly, pulling it out, it looks like a great quality intercooler. I mean, realistically, the cast looks really nice. Even after casting, they didn't leave any sharp edges. It's cleaned up nice. The welds look really great. To me, you know, they are, I guess you could say, budget-friendly parts, realistically. And to me, this looks like a great quality part. And so I think this will be really cool. We just need to kind of figure out how we need to duct it in here and exactly where we want to put it in this truck. How were we thinking? You want to come? Yeah.
No, upside down.
No, this is it.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah, you want to come?
You're right.
Kind of what we're have an idea of here is maybe building some brackets. We may trim this down a little bit and drill through and make some brackets so we can come through with our piping here and then come up and over with our piping there. And I think that'll be pretty cool in there. And then that'll also leave us the room, instead of trying to pack an intercooler in here or spend $800 something on a combo. You'll still have room for a radiator and an AC condenser in there. And then as far as ductwork go, they sent us out this pipework kit, and it comes with, let's see, some pretty nice quality clamps and some tubing. You got the U's and the V's and the straights. And I mean, as far as quality goes, quality of a bend, there's no kinking or anything. It's all cleaned up nice once they're done with it. No sharp edges or anything on that piece. Real smooth on the inside, and I think that'll be pretty nice for our setup here. So obviously we just need to start obviously we just need to start figuring out our lining and everything and exactly where we need it to route. But I think this stuff will do really well for our truck, and I think it'll be pretty sweet. Alright y'all, that'll wrap it up for this episode. I hope you really enjoy what we've decided to do with that rapid pickup truck. Breathing some life back into it, giving it a modern touch while leaving it a Volkswagen diesel. I think it'll be super fun, and I cannot wait to have that truck running. It won't be long. We'll have that truck completed and out on the road and having so much fun with it. If you guys enjoy this kind of stuff, if you're not part of the channel already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We really do appreciate all the love and support. Thank you all so much. If you can't tell, I am our Porsche 911. Be sure to keep an eye out for a video coming up on this car. We've come a long ways in a few weeks here, and I think you guys will really enjoy the update that we have for y'all on this build. Peace out, and catch y'all on the flip side.